Hi, I'm Philip with G6 Technology Services. In this video, we're going to go over how to install VMware ESXi on a standalone computer. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need to do is go on to Google and type in free ESXi to download the installer ISO. It should be the first link, I think, and it'll ask you to create an account. It's free, so that's okay. Don't worry about it. They're not going to send you a bill. Just fill in your information, and then they should give you a product key and a link to download the ISO. So you'll need to save that product key because we'll need that later, and then download the ISO and burn it to a CD or put it on a flash drive. So I've got a CD right here that we'll be using. So we'll go ahead and put it in this computer that I've prepared here, and we'll go ahead and turn it on. Okay, and then we'll choose to boot from the optical drive. And we want the ESXi standard installer. And while we're waiting for this to load, I'll just say that it's important to make sure that the host machine that you choose, in this case we're going with a Dell OptiPlex 790. Make sure that you have enough RAM in there. It will prevent you from installing it if there's not enough. In this one I have 8 gigs, so I don't remember off the top of my head what the minimum is, but I think if you're going to be doing VMs, you should at the very least have 8. You may be able to get away with 4, I'm not sure. But make sure you have enough RAM, and then also make sure you've got enough storage, unless you're going to be using network storage, which is advisable if you are set up for that. But if not, you can use the internal storage. I just have a little laptop hard drive that I stuck in there just for this demo. But depending on what kind of VMs you're going to be running, you may want to put an SSD in there. That will make it a lot faster. And something else that is a little bit unusual about ESXi that's different than a regular operating system that you'd install is that it is very common for ESXi to be installed on an SD card or a flash drive and not on the internal storage. And that is because in most installations there is no internal storage because they use shared storage. So it's cheaper for a company to order a bunch of servers with no hard drives and no SSDs and just stick a flash drive in the back or stick an SD card in there. And a lot of newer servers actually come with either SD card slots or USB ports in the chassis so that it can't be tampered with. You open up the lid, put your flash drive in, shut the lid, put the server in the rack, and then you've got your local storage for ESXi to install onto. And then after ESXi is installed, then they usually have it link up to some shared storage, and that's where the actual VMs live. And they probably would have the whole vSphere, vCenter server, and all that stuff too, so that you can have vMotion and storage vMotion. And what that does is it lets you move a VM while it's running from one machine to another. So if it goes down for some reason or you need to take it down for maintenance, using a combination of the vCenter server and shared storage, you're able to move VMs while they're on. So that's a pretty cool feature. But in this standalone installation, we're not going to be able to do that. So that's why in this case it's okay just to have an internal hard drive or solid state drive to install your VMs onto, because having shared storage doesn't really affect anything if you just have one host. But if you get a second one and you'd like to be able to move VMs between them, it's not going to let you do vMotion unless you have all the licenses and everything that you have to pay for. But you would be able to at least, what's that called? Unassign, that's not it. There's some terminology when you can remove the VM from the hypervisor, but it still remains on the disk, so you can add it to a different host. So anyway, I've been rambling about that enough. So this is getting started up and you can see in this gray area it tells us what version we're running and some information about our host machine. And it's still getting everything set up. There's not that much that you need to do to configure it. It asks you a couple of questions and it wants a password. You create a root password. It's a good idea to have a static IP address assigned to this machine because it is managed primarily from the web interface. There is some configuration that you can do from the console, but it's very limited. It's designed to be managed from the web interface or from a vCenter server, so it's a good idea to have a static IP ready to go. So as we can see here, it's welcoming us, it's ready to go. There is an official compatibility guide. I don't think this computer is going to be on it because it's not a server, but it will still work. So we'll go ahead and click enter to continue, and F11 to accept our terms, and it's going to scan the system for devices. So this is an important step. It does tell you. So here it's a good idea to make sure that everything that you expect to be there is in there. So in this case, all we have is this one 500 gig Western Digital hard drive. So that's exactly right, but if you did have a flash drive and a hard drive or multiple solid state drives or anything like that, you'd want to make sure at this stage that they all show up, otherwise it's not going to work. So we'll hit enter to continue. And it's confirming with us here that we've selected a disk that contains at least one partition with existing data. And if you continue, the selected disk will be overwritten. So it's important to know whatever disk you choose to install ESXi onto or to use as a data store, it will be erased completely. So for example, with this machine here, if it had Windows 10 on it and we put the CD in there, it would wipe out the Windows 10 installation. So you're not supposed to share your host machine with other operating systems. ESXi is the only one that's supposed to be on there. So we'll go ahead and continue because I don't think that disk had anything on it that we needed anyway. Keyboard layout, just choose whatever is appropriate for you. In this case we're going with US. And our root password. So this is important to remember. Pick something secure that you won't forget because you'll need that to log into the web interface later and to log into the console to change settings. Okay, so it finally took that password. I had to choose a few different ones. It was very particular about it. So here we're saying that the CPU is supported now, but it won't be in the future. So that's fine. I've gotten that before on some older servers. So it's something to take note of. If you're planning on using this host machine for a long time and you get this message, you may want to reconsider what machine you're using. But in this case, just for it's a demo, we're going to just skip over that. We'll just hit enter to continue. And we're going to install ESXi 6.7.0 onto our hard drive. So we'll hit F11 to install. And it is installing. So we're at 9%, 10%. So that's probably going to take a little while. So, oh, actually, maybe it won't. I was going to say I'll stop and come back, but we might not have to do that. I try to leave as much in as possible so you can see exactly what happens one after the other. But if it looks like it's going to take a really long time, I'll skip part of that. But this is going pretty quick. So we'll just keep watching it. Well, I said that, and the end is taking longer than the first 75% did. For whatever reason. I don't know if you can really see that, but we're at 90. And this last 10% is just like charging a phone battery. The last 10% takes twice as long as it did to charge the previous 90%. So as soon as I stop recording, it's going to speed right along to 100. We'll give it a, yep, see? Alright, so it's finished installing. Give you a look at that message. And it comes with an evaluation mode for 60 days. So if you don't really feel like filling out all the registration and getting a product key, you are able to just test it out without having to do that. But actually, no, you do have to do that because I don't think you can download the ISO without it. But I guess if you can find the ISO somewhere, then you don't have to register it. But and it's free, like I said, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, it does come with a 60-day trial, but we'll be putting in that product key so that the trial doesn't expire. So now we'll remove our CD and press enter to reboot. Okay, it's stuck our drive back out again. I guess it ejected it for us. So we're almost at the end of the configuration. There's not going to be a whole lot else to do. There we go, it just shut off. So we'll go ahead and, in this case, since it's just an example, I'm just going to leave the DHCP address that it got. But like I said, if you're going to be using this for any length of time, it would be good to set a static IP for it, so you don't have to try and figure out what IP it has each time you turn it on. But I think it says that on the screen. And it does take just a minute to boot up, but it's pretty quick. It's a lot faster if you have an SSD. This has taken a little while. The other one that we've got is installed on a solid state. Actually, it's installed on a flash drive, but it's a lot faster booting up when it's on solid state storage as opposed to this old hard drive. Oh, well, yeah, it's not going to have an IP address because I forgot to plug that in. So, just one moment. Let's find that. There we go. Yeah, my mistake. So, yeah, I don't think we'll have to restart it, but it'll probably take a minute for that to update. So in the meantime, we'll just go into, oh, there it is. So it updated, it got an IP address. So you can, if you just want to leave it at the DHCP address, you can. You don't have to set the static one because you can find it right here on the screen. But a lot of times these things are run headless, so they don't actually have a monitor and keyboard connected all the time. But that's up to you. So this is all we have to do. From here, now we'll hop over onto a computer and go to that address in a browser, and we should be able to finish setting it up. And it darkens the screen a little bit after a while. So, alright, what is it? 15 to 235. Okay, don't let me forget that. So, we're going to go ahead and just switch over to our other computer that I've got on the table. Okay, let's get this Ethernet cable out of the way. So we'll open up our web browser, and then we'll put in that address that I hope I remember. Yep, okay, perfect. So we've got our address in the browser, and then it gives us this SSL warning, which is fine to skip past because it's just got a self-signed certificate. So we'll just go to advanced. Sorry about pointing the camera at the screen. I don't have the screen recording software set up here, but this is what it looks like. This is ESXi, the login screen. So what we'll do here, the username is root, and the password is the password that we typed in during the initial setup. Okay, so it's logging in. And here's our administration console. Okay, so it prompts us to join their customer improvement program. So that's up to you if you want to or not. And then the first thing that I usually like to do is to activate it so I don't forget. So it tells you right here in this little warning thing that you're using it in evaluation mode and it'll expire in 60 days. So what we're going to do is go over here and click on Manage, and then go over to Licensing. And then it says Evaluation Mode, so what we're going to do is Assign License. And then here it asks you for your license key, which you can get when you log into your account on the VMware ESXi page where you downloaded the ISO. So I didn't do that for this demo. I already had that disk from before, so we're just going to skip that, but this is important to do if you're going to keep using the machine, because otherwise the license will expire after 60 days. And it does disable a bunch of features because you do have to pay to unlock everything, but you can have a perfectly functional, usable VM host without all these extra features. So now you might be asking, how do I create a VM? So I think the format will be better if I get the screen recording working. So this video is mostly focused on how to install it and get it up and running. So that's really all there is to it. There's not much that you need to do. So I hope that this video was helpful, and I'm going to make another one with the screen recorder, and we'll go through all the different settings that you might need to do, how to upload ISOs and assign network interfaces and create virtual machines. So keep an eye out for that. It should be the next video after this one. So until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.